So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the December monthly call. My name is Misty Woods, and I will be doing the call today. Before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know if anyone has been trying to contact staff directly yesterday, today, or tomorrow via email or phone, the entire division has been in an all-day, 3-day training. So we will get back with you as soon as we can, but there may just be a little bit lag in amount of time for us getting back to you. So I stepped away from the training to do this today. So let's get started. All right, so for the agenda today, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting things. Okay, it must be my headphones. Give me a second. I will take off my headphones. I've been having issues with it. Just a second. Okay, can everyone hear me better and maybe even more muffled now without the headphones? Can y'all put in the chat if y'all can hear me okay now? Okay, so we'll try this again. So we'll go over today's agenda first. So we'll talk about the 23 and 24 equipment grants. We'll talk about verification. We'll go over some administrative reviews, some more information about the final rule, on-site monitoring, health inspections, memos, and then the upcoming trainings and events. So first, let's talk about the 23 and 24 equipment grants. So the 2023 equipment grant, the second allocation, the request for reimbursement, and the purchase orders are your invoices. They were due actually by yesterday, December 2nd. So if you were awarded that second allocation, the deadline was actually yesterday for submit it, and Stacy will be in touch with you if she has any additional questions or needs any additional information from you. And for the 2024 equipment assistance grants, the application closed on November 15th, so we are no longer going to accept any applications or revisions since it's past the due dates. Those notification of awards will take place next week on the 9th. That's the intended plan, is to send out awards on the 9th. The award notification will include the amount that you were awarded, as well as the detailed instructions on how to request the funding. And just as a reminder, you must obligate those funds if you are awarded by June 9th by either submitting a purchase order or invoice, and you must also submit the request for reimbursement by June 9th. So again, if you have questions regarding either of those equipment grants, you can always contact Stacy directly, as she is the main person that is working on both those equipment grants. So her phone number is on the screen as well as her email address. So now let's go over some verification reminders. So for the verification process, it's important for everyone to understand which SFAs are and which SFAs are not required to complete all steps of the verification process. So the verification process is required for any SFA that uses free and reduced applications, which are your traditional SFAs, your partial CEPs, and your RCCIs with day students. Partial CEP districts have to complete the entire verification process only on those schools that are not CEP. But just note that district-wide CEP and RCCIs without day students don't complete the verification process, but they still must complete that verification summary report that is due in January, on January 10th. So on this slide is a verification overview, and Kylie talked about this in the previous training, and we will have another training coming up on the verification summary form. There was a little confusion, I think, I believe, in some SFAs. So November 15th is when verification should have been completed or should have ended. And from November 15th through January 10th is the time frame where you report those results of verifications on that verification summary report. So again, all SFAs, regardless of their type, are required to report their results because it includes additional information used by USDA, such as enrollment, identified students, and the number of operating sites per SFA. So the verification summary form has been opened on the CNP website. I think it was opened the week before Thanksgiving. So SFAs can begin completing. However, if you want to wait, there is a verification summary report training on December 17th. And like we just said, this is the final step of the verification process, is completing this form. Again, Kylie's going to be doing a part 2. Basically, we're calling it a part 2, a verification part 2 training on December 17th, specifically to go over that form. And again, please note that all SFAs participating in an SLP have to complete this form. I think there's a lot of confusion of who needs to complete it and who doesn't. But every SFA that participates in an SLP must complete this form, and it is due by January 10th. And Kylie wanted me to remind everyone that, you should never share your CNP login information with others. The person that is submitting that verification summary form will be the person that's going to be contacted in regards to any clarifications or corrections needed to that form. So if you have a user account that needs to be created or edited for any reason, for an employee or let's say a consultant to complete and submit that form, you can create or edit the user on that gray home tab section in the CNP website. And if you have any questions specifically about verification, Kylie is your main contact person. So her phone number and her email is on the slide here. So now let's go over a few things about the administrative review. So we have been providing technical assistance to as many SFAs as possible who are being reviewed during this school year. And we're also planning to accompany CNR on several of their on-site reviews. So some reviews have already taken place. I think we're like 3 weeks into the review cycle, and we're starting to accompany CNR on some of their reviews. So if you're going to receive a review this year that's being conducted by CNR, the senior review specialist that is assigned to your review will be your main contact person between you and the CNR review team. You can call them or you can email them at any time with questions about the review or the process. But if you're being reviewed or your review is being conducted by us, by LDOE, the team lead will be your main contact, and they should have emailed you at the beginning of the process. And again, you can call or email the team lead anytime with questions about the review or the process. One slight thing different is that all procurement reviews will be conducted by CNR, whether we're doing your review or whether CNR is doing your review. So if your review is being conducted by CNR, the procurement review will more than likely be conducted at the same time as the administrative review. However, if your review is being conducted by LDOE, the procurement review, they're trying to align it at the same time as your administrative review, but it may not be at the same time. And if anybody's needing any resources regarding the administrative review, all of the administrative review forms can be found on the CMP website under the school food service forms, and they can also be found on the USDA website. And I have the linked on the slide here. Please note that those forms do say school year 2018-2019. Those are the most current forms. USDA has not updated them yet. So even though it says 2018-2019, that is the most recent form. So it is up to date. So if you are unsure of what year you will receive an administrative review, the administrative review schedule can be found on the CMP website under the School Food Service Resources. We have been approved for the 5-year review cycle, and it is required for state agencies that have been approved for the 5-year cycle to conduct a targeted follow-up review on any SFA that is designated as high risk. And we have to do that within 2 years of the initial administrative review. So we're going to be using the administrative review modules when determining if you're considered high risk or not. Some findings on a review will automatically identify you as a high risk, and these findings will be given the maximum points required to identify the SFA as high risk, specifically to that module that the violation occurred. And each module will have a high risk point threshold. And if a module meets or exceeds that point threshold, the SFA will be considered high risk, and that follow-up review of that failed module will be completed within 2 years of that initial administrative review. And we'll go over, I have an example in a couple of slides. So once the administrative review is completed, we will perform that risk assessment to determine if you're considered high risk. Basically, it's broken down into 13 modules. So you have your performance standard 1, which includes your meal access and reimbursement about eligibility, verification, and counting and claiming. Then under performance standard 2 is about your meal pattern and nutritional quality. Then every general area, which includes your school wellness and smart snacks, your food safety, professional standards, just other general areas. And if you do after school snack, fresh fruit and vegetable, if you have a food service management company, if you do seamless summer, and then resource management, and then of course, your procurement review is included in that as well. So on this slide is a snapshot of 3 of the modules to use as an example. So again, like I said, we're going to be using 13 different modules in determining if you're considered high risk. And as you can see, each module has a high risk point threshold. So if the module meets or exceeds that point threshold, you will be considered high risk. And again, we'll be coming back within 2 years. However, if you have findings resulting in points that do not exceed that high risk threshold, it's just going to require corrective action on your review. So on this slide, for the first one, for meal access and reimbursement for counting and claiming, if you have an inaccurate point of service, that's 3 points. If that's the only issue that you had in that section, then that's just going to require corrective action. However, if you did not consolidate your meal counts and it resulted in fiscal action, that's another 3 points. So that means you're going to have a total of 6 points, which would make you high risk. So we would have to come back and do a follow-up review specific to that within 2 years. And the same goes for the other things. So for resource management, if you just have the first one on there, fiscal action required due to inadequate coding, so you're not having a separate account and things like that, that's an automatic 5 points. So that's going to be a high risk. And we will come back within 2 years specifically to go over another review on resource management. There is a question in chat about how and when will SFAs be notified if they're considered high risk. It'll be after the reviews are completed. Once CNR we give them the permission to close out your review, we actually have to then go and do the scoring of it. And then once we deem them high risk, we're going to have to fit them into the schedule. So it will be sometime after that SFAs will be notified. I don't know in what capacity yet, if we're going to be emailing you or if we're just going to tell you you were deemed high risk and that we'll be back in 2 years. We haven't worked out that yet. We're still in the process of working, but yes, you will know if we are coming back to you. Okay, so now let's briefly go over some final rule information. I know we talked about this several times on several trainings before, but I just wanted to make it known that we still have to talk about it because it's not over. We still have things that are still being implemented throughout the upcoming years. So on this slide, it's a graphic of the implementation timeline. So we've already passed the fall 2024. So now we're going to look at going forward. What's up next is fall 2025. And that includes changes to the added sugars of items and flavored milk. So you just need to start thinking about and making plans on how you will be in compliance because that does start next school year. And on this slide is several final rule resources. It linked all these different things about the final rules that you can go back and look over if you need to have some updates on what's going on. So now let's go over on-site monitoring. So according to 7 CFR 210.8 and 7 CFR 220.11, every school year prior to February 1st, each SFA with more than one school must perform no less than one on-site review of the meal counting and claiming system and the readily observable general areas of the reviewed identified under 7 CFR 210.18 in each school operating the national school lunch and 50% of schools operating the school breakfast. So if you operate both breakfast and lunch, you have to do on-site monitoring for every school and then 50% of the schools that do breakfast. And again, that has to be done by February 1st. And this is what the on-site monitoring form looks like. It can be found on the CNP website under the School Food Service General Forms. So next we'll go over the memos that have been posted since the last monthly call. And since we didn't have a monthly call recently, we have a lot of things to go over. We have several memos. So the first one is memo SFS 25-005. This memo was an invitation to join the Division of Nutrition Support's training for food service management company contracts. So this training is taking place on January 15th, but is specifically designed for school food authorities that use food service management company services. So this training is mandatory that only for SFAs that are using or planning to use a food service management company. And it's exclusive for SFA representatives. So consultants and food service management staff are not permitted, as we're going to talk about the procurement process, and procurement for food service management companies is a non-delegable responsibility of the SFA. The authorized rep, if the authorized rep cannot attend, they can send someone in their place, and more than one person from the SFA can attend. It's going to be at Pennington from 9 to 12, again on January 15th, and registration is available on Louisiana Fit Kids. We will be starting to contact SFAs that are on our list that have not registered yet to ensure that all SFAs that have a food service management company attend this mandatory training. So memo SFS 25-06 is about the fluid milk requirements for school meals in 2025. This is a USDA memo, and it has updates and it clarifies current guidance on fluid milk requirements following that publication of the 2024 final rule. It includes the fluid milk requirements, the product-based added sugar limits, and the non-dairy fluid milk substitutions for non-disability and disability reasons. It does supersede a previous memo of SP 29-2011. So since April of 2011, this memo has now been updated. It also rescinds the Food and Consumer Service Instruction Number 783-7. Again, that's from January of 1995 because it is now obsolete across all CNPs. The next memo is also a USDA memo. This is SFS 25-07. It provides an updated guidance on the substitution of vegetables for fruits in the school breakfast program. And again, the 2024 rule included an optional provision that continues to allow that substitution of vegetables for fruits at breakfast and provide schools with greater menu planning flexibility at breakfast as compared to the previous regulations. So this memo also includes the final rule provision, the congressional flexibility for the current school year for 24-25, as well as questions and answers for meal pattern, updated vegetable variety requirements, and crediting. And this memo also supersedes a previous memo from 2020. The memo SFS 25-08 was about the team up procurement training. It was a reminder. So it was reminding people to invite them to join us for the Urban School Food Alliance procurement training that took place on November 19th. The training included working to practice on developing new procurement practices, talked about best practices, and then also had some presentation and discussion with school nutrition directors that have established school food service procurement best practices and other activities. If you were unable to attend this training, the slides will be posted to Louisiana Fit Kids. Memo SFS 25-09 is another USDA memo that was announcing, actually it was more of an email, that was announcing a public webinar. It was about kosher foods, and it took place on November 14th. And it was basically about how to learn more about how kosher and halal foods fit into child nutrition program meal patterns and how USDA foods can help. I am not sure if the recording has been posted to that yet, but normally we receive an email once the recording gets posted if anybody needs to listen in for that webinar, for the recording of it at least. Memo SFS 25-10 was about the 2024 NSLP Equipment Assistant Grant. That was a reminder that it was due by November 15th, that applications, and again, no applications or revisions to that application will be accepted past that due date. Okay, so this next memo is memo SFS 25-11. It's entitled Fees in the School Meals Program. So I'm going to go over the basics of it and the highlights of it, but this is one of these memos that we really highly recommend that all SFAs that currently offer online payments to really look at this memo, go through it, because it has a lot of important information. And again, this slide only highlights some of it. So this USDA memo clarifies policy related to fees associated with electronic or online payments in the school meal programs and ensures students who are determined eligible for free or reduced price meal benefits receive the benefits they qualify for without having to pay additional fees. So what this memo says is that effective school year 27-28, families with students eligible for free or reduced price meals must not be charged any fees along with the cost of a meal. And this includes fees for using electronic payment services. So while this memo clarifies prior guidance on this topic, by focusing on fees incurred with electronic payments, nothing in this memo should be construed to suggest other fees associated with school meals are acceptable. Moreover, SFAs should not construe this memo to suggest that fees should be shifted to or increased for students paying the full price meals. And this memo supersedes a memo from 2015. This memo does also offer best practices and strategies for SFAs to ensure that all families are made aware of payment options and to ease the financial burden that electronic payment processing fees impose. So again, I highly recommend that if you currently do online payments, go through this memo, and that way you can have the knowledge and you can start talking about and having discussions with your software company and your school district so that you can develop a plan and implement by school year 27-28. Again, there's a lot of information on here, and I'm sure a lot of people may have some questions of how they're going to do it. So just go through this memo, and if you have additional questions, please reach out to us, and if we can't answer, we will reach out to USDA. So memo SFS 25-12 is about the October SNAP and TANF file. They've been loaded into eScholar Direct Match. Districts should resolve the matches below the public schools is SNAP batch 9786 and TANF batch 9785. And the non-public schools is SNAP batch 9787 and TANF batch 9784. And as always, if you have any questions, please, or need assistance, please email Jane. Memo SFS 25-13 is the Breakfast Design Lab call for applications. So this is about No Kids Hungry Program Innovation Team. They're inviting districts to apply for the Breakfast Design Lab, an accelerator focused on finding, testing, and launching new ways to improve student breakfast experience. So they were looking for people if they have an idea of how to improve breakfast experience based on the feedback from students or parents in your district. So No Kid Hungry is looking for innovations that improve students' experience with school breakfast and ultimately increase participation. Some examples could include reimbursable meals that emphasize student choice, inclusive and welcoming line or space design, distributed and flexible breakfast service throughout the school, student or caregiver focused communication, and outreach. So you can see on here, it was actually due by November 27th. But the RFP, you can submit an inquiry if you are interested. You can always learn more about it to where when it comes around again, you can always apply later on. Okay, and memo SFS 25-14 is guidance for accepting processed product documentation for meal pattern requirements. And again, this is one of those memos that I recommend the SFAs go over as it has a lot of information. And this slide, again, is just a highlight on some of that information. This is another USDA memo that provides both state agencies and program operators with additional information and clarification on the state agency monitoring process. And this regarding the requirements for documenting CN labeled products. It talks about the CN label verification system, the dates related to CN labels, requirements for documenting watermarked CN labels, requirements for product formulation statements, reviewing the product formulation statements, and it also has an attachment for verifying acceptable documentation of those CN labels during the monitoring process. The memo also reflects updates to the CN label verification system and provides clarification on the date of the authorization found on the CN label versus the valid date or the valid until date on the CN label verification report. So again, lots of information on this memo that I highly recommend y'all go over and look at. So the memo SFS 25-15 is about the October Medicaid and free lunch and Medicaid reduced lunch file. It has been loaded into eScholar. Districts should resolve the near matches for public schools as Medicaid free lunch 9792 and Medicaid reduced lunch 9791. And then for non-public schools is Medicaid free lunch 9793 and Medicaid reduced lunch 9794. And again, if you need assistance, please email Jane. All right, this next memo, SFS 25-16, is about the verification summary reports. The verification summary report, like I said earlier, is now available to edit and submit on the CNP website. Again, the deadline is January 10th, 2025, and you can refer to the appropriate section of the verification guide to complete the verification report. It's my understanding that an email was also sent out to each authorized representative from Kylie with instructions on specific to the SFA type. And as a reminder, again, this year, all school types are required to report the number of free and reduced price Medicaid direct certification results as of October 31st in Section M. If you are an RCCI without day students, you will report 0 in Section M. For additional help with eScholar information or eScholar help, you need to contact Jane. Important note, the person again submitting that verification summary report will be the person that's contacted regarding any clarifications or corrections needed to the report. And in this memo, Kylie has several resources that SFAs can refer back to. And I believe on the memo, they're actually linked as well. So if you go on the memo, you should be able to click on the verification toolkit link, and it would link you to there, as well as the memos. And as always, you can contact Kylie if you have any additional questions, and you can refer to the verification trainings, the one that's already been posted to Louisiana Fit Kids and the one that will be happening in December once it's posted to Louisiana Fit Kids as well. Memo SFS 25-17 is the request for applications for the Healthy Meals Incentive School Food Systems Transformation Challenge subgrants, also known as Boise State's Project Scales. So it's just a few more weeks to finalize the applications for round 2 of that Supporting Community Agricultural and Local Education Systems, also known as Project Scales. It's a sub-grant that is administered by Boise State University Center for School and Community Partnerships. The request for application will close on December 13th. The RFA, the request for application, is open to all school food authorities participating in National School Lunch or School Breakfast Program, growers and other producers, food manufacturers or producers, food processors, a lot of different kinds, food distributors, food support organizations. And basically, if you want more information about this, if you haven't heard of this, please visit the website projectscales.com, and it can give you all the information that you would need if you're thinking about applying. Memo SFS 25-18 is offering meats and meat alternates at school breakfast in English and Spanish. So Team Nutrition, the guide of offering meats and meat alternates at school breakfast is a training guide. It has been updated to be consistent with the final rule. So the final rule does allow schools the option to offer grains and meat alternates or a combination of both at breakfast. So it's a 20-page training guide that shows school nutrition professionals how to offer meat and meat alternates at school breakfast by providing menu planning ideas, crediting information, sample menus, and more. And again, it's available for download, and I linked it on this slide for you. And the last memo is Memo SFS 25-19, DSNAP file loaded into eScholar. So on September 24th, USDA announced that low-income Louisiana residents in 8 parishes, Ascension, Assumption, Lafourche, St. Charles, St. James, St. John, St. Mary, and Terrebonne, recovering from the impact of Hurricane Francine, could be eligible for a helping hand from the USDA Disaster Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as DSNAP. And that DSNAP data has been loaded into eScholar. So districts, those 8 districts should resolve the near matches. Public schools is DSNAP batch 9837, and non-public is DSNAP batch 9838. And again, if you need assistance with that, please contact Jane. All right, so let's talk about some upcoming training and events. So here are some upcoming trainings that have been scheduled. So today, December 3rd, is our monthly call. And on December 17th, like I said previously, we will have the verification summary form training. We will not have a monthly call in January, as our next state update that's going to be in person will be at Pennington on January 14th. And some we're working on the agenda, but some topics to include USDA will be giving an update. Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry will be giving an update. We have some people from the Department of Ed that will be talking about safe and healthy school wellness policies. We're going to go over some CEP population data preparation things. We will also talk about, have an overview, I should say, of seamless summer versus summer feeding, and some other topics that are to be determined at this time. And then on January 15th, we will have that food service management company contract training, which will also be in person at Pennington. And again, this training is only for SFAs that use a food service management company contract. And all of these you can register on Louisiana Fit Kids website. I just wanted to mention that National School Breakfast Week is March 3rd through the 7th. This year's theme is Clue into School Breakfast. And for more information about it, you can please visit the School Nutrition Association website that's linked on this slide. I see I have a few things in the chat. Let's see. So someone's asking about accepting cash and checks. That if you're referring to the memo about fees, though that memo was specific about being online fees that people are assessed when they make online payments. So maybe read that memo and just see if you still have any clarifying questions, please reach out to us. Have a reminder from Dr. Champagne to remind everyone to register for January 14th meeting and pay online, only checks and cash on site. So if anyone else has any questions, you feel free to put them in the chat, or you can always email us or give us a call. And for those of you that may have logged on late, I just want to remind everyone that this week the entire division staff is in a 3-day training all day. So we are still checking emails. We may not respond to a phone call until on Thursday. So please just continue to email us. We may just have a little bit of delay at getting back to you, but we will get back to you. I'm not seeing any more questions come through in the chat. So with that, I'll let everyone go for today. Again, hope to see you at the next training for verification on the 17th of December. And if not, we will see you at the in-person state update on January 14th. I hope everyone has had a good holiday and has another great holiday to come up. See you next month.